Hey, everybody, good evening. Yeah, that's kind of different. It used to be good morning. Now it's good evening. We've made it to prime time. Hey, everybody, I'm Reno Viola. I am the mortgage guy, also known as the Mortgage Commando. I'm part of the Ontario approval team over at Mortgage Alliance. Of course, my co-captain on this show and my business partner, Sandra Brown, is flying this airplane tonight. So watch out. Hey, Sandy, what are you doing?
Good evening, everyone. It's Sandra Brown, the mortgage broker at Mortgage Alliance Ontario approval team, and my dear co-host and business partner and life partner. We're here to talk about mortgage and the 5 steps of mortgage underwriting for approval. This can be confusing.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be, and that's the key. I think we're going to slow down this whole, this rush through the episode kind of thing and just talk about the 5 things that you really need to know on how to get your mortgage approved or pre-approved.
You know what, Reno? Most people don't understand what you mean by when you say, what does mortgage underwriting mean?
Yeah, forget the word underwriting.
They want to know, when am I getting my mortgage? That's all they want to know.
2 things. They want to know how much is the rate and am I approved?
That's right.
We're going to tell you some steps to get to that approved easier. That's what that underwriting thing is. Okay, so let's go through those things. Well, first off, when you're talking to one of us, we're not all built because like the same. There's about 8 or 9,000 of us from Mortgage Alliance across Canada. So, there's everybody's independent and they have different thoughts and different training and different answers for you. But basically, you need to be speaking to one of us who's starting to make some sense to you, telling you the facts nice and slow. And one of the things that we need to have a talk about with you guys is your plan. What are you expecting from this mortgage? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to do it for 5 years? Are you trying to do a rental? What is it that you're trying to do? You need to open up with us a little bit rather than get it on the text and do it in 3 sentences on the text. It can't be done. I need to know the details so that we can give you the best product.
Because right? the reality is, if you're just going to give us, okay, I make $20,000 a year and that's that, we're going to say to you, well, sorry, can't do anything for you. But if you're going to enhance what you're saying to us, give us more information so we understand what you need and what you want and how important this is for you, we can find other options available out there. And that's really the very first step of mortgage underwriting, is having a good, strong conversation with us.
Think of us as air traffic controllers, if you will. There's a whole bunch of stuff flying around and, there's paths where the plane's got to come in. Well, there's steps that we all have to follow in order to get mortgages approved. Just imagine this. Most of the time, I wouldn't say most of the time, but a lot of the time, we get a little text saying, I want your cheapest mortgage, go ahead. Well, you can't do that. And the equivalent to that would be you texting a car lot and saying, hey, I want your cheapest car, go ahead. It doesn't mean anything at that point. So we need you to be part of what we call the underwriting process. And that's what we are. We're basically credit experts who know lenders' policies inside and out, and we underwrite your policy. By underwriting your policy or your deal or your application, we're the ones that are taking the information from you, massaging it so that it looks the best that it can possibly look before we send it to a lender. That's what underwriting is.
Let's be honest, Reno, we're the first stop. It's like when you apply for a job. You don't go applying for a job saying, I want to be a teacher, but not give any credentials, right? Exactly. You just don't do it. It's the exact same thing here. We're here to get all the information to put it together. That's only step 1. Once we get all your information and we get your application and we get all your paperwork, we then take it and we're going to send it over to a lender. Lucky for you, and you're coming to us, we have 65 of those guys to take it to. And they each have their own guidelines. So with that, they're now going to look at the paperwork that Reno and I send to them to see if you are credit worthy, whether they're going to give you the money.
And so Sandy's right, 1,000%. So, but you got to think of this in steps. We're the first line of resistance, but we don't work for the guy who you think you're working for. We don't work for that lender. We work for you. So we're trying to repackage your information so that it looks absolutely fantastic. So when the lender does see it, they're going to like it. So that's the first step of underwriting for mortgage for approval. And so we help you through that. We walk you through that. We coach you through that. We massage it. We actually do it, and we get it ready to go. If we don't think it's going to get approved once we send it up, we likely will tell you it's not going to be approved. So I think you need to do this, this, and this, and then we'll send it in a month once you've done those things. And so that's where the value of using a mortgage broker is in your life.
Before you start buying a house, before you start shopping, before you even go see your realtor, before you do anything else, the biggest suggestion we can ever give is you need to talk to your broker when you're thinking about buying a house, because you probably don't have a clue what's going on. So at least we as mortgage brokers, we can actually give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 step. Here's what you're missing. I see with a lot of my customers that are in that 20 years age, they don't understand that, wait, I should have got a credit card. Little things like that, because they didn't know that credit cards were important. Well, credit cards are very important if you use them responsibly. So that is just one of the steps, using credit responsibly, so that whenever you go to buy the biggest purchase in your life, that person going to lend you the money is going to say, okay, they've showed they're responsible for it with their credit to this point. Yes, we'll consider them in that point.
Okay, so we're the first point of contact. We're the guys who pretty everything up and repackage and package your information. So that's the first step of underwriting, mortgage underwriting, is us. It's the three, you, me, and our little group, to get the thing ready. Then we send it over to a broker. The reason we send it to that broker is because that lender. We send it to that lender because we already know that lender's policies, and it's likely that they will accept and they will approve your mortgage. But there's another underwriter inside that lender's building, if you will, or office. And so that now it gets underwritten or gets looked at from a different point of view. This underwriter, their underwriter, acts as an investigator. So it makes sure that everything that we've done is legal, is correct, is to policy, and will fit within the guidelines.
And not only that, these lenders get thousands and thousands of applications. Like they're not 1 and 2 application or 10 applications. They're doing so much volume that they don't have time to go through every little piece of your stuff before getting an approval. So that is really what we do at the mortgage broker level. Is our goal is to go through all it to make sure we have the correct information to give to these lenders and narrow it down, and making sure that we have the right story for them so they can read it and say, okay, that makes sense. Let's get this done.
Okay, so we've stopped first. We've sent it to the original or the primary underwriter at a lender. They look at it and they say, okay, we're going to look at this further. Here, let's go to step number 2 or 3 or whatever you want to call it. And now inside, it goes to another underwriter, or the same underwriter stops and looks at it from a different perspective and basically looks at it from your credit worthiness, which is what he's looking at is what we've done in that first step, which is make sure that your credit is explainable. If there is a little bump, and we all have little bumps, but if there is a little bump inside your credit bureau, then we need to have explained it. And so that when the third underwriter looks at it, they have an explanation. Say, oh, yeah, look, he was late 4 months in a row. But that was when he had a family member that passed away and he had to go look after them. And so he couldn't pay. And you get another check mark. And so that'd be step number 3. But they're looking at it from qualifications and financial profile at that point.
And it's not about just credit worthiness. It's about financial. It's about the employment. They're looking at your pay stubs to say, does this make sense? Year to date. If it shows you only made $500, means you haven't worked at the same company for a whole year. However, if you only made $2,000 this year, you may have been affected by COVID. So we need to make sure we know all that information. If you were off of work due to COVID for 3 or 4 months, you need to tell us, so that when we send that information off to a lender, they know that there's a good reason why you haven't made that much money than you normally do make each year, because they do check this stuff.
And they do look at that stuff, folks. I mean, remember, they've got one job inside of a lender's office. Yes, to give us money so you can go buy a house. But the primary job is to make sure that the lender's money is protected.
It's like a bank, Reno. Exactly, the bank.
And most of them are banks, by the way. They're not the big 5 that you would know on the corner, although we deal with those as well. But the other ones, the other 64, 65 of them are banks just as much, And that's all they do, those mortgages. They don't do
And
credit
it makes
cards.
sense, okay? Because our money is going into that account. They're spending our money to lend it out to people. They got to make sure that they're not going to lose our money, or we're going to be very upset with them. So it just makes sense why these lenders have to make sure that you're going to pay your bills at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to.
And now here's where you guys get, and even a lot of mortgage brokers get confused. Okay, so we've done all those steps that we've talked about. We've prettied up a package. We've given them great deal notes. So anybody could look at the deal notes, and by reading through our Reader's Digest version of your credit life and what we're looking from them, they should be able to make a decision, an informed decision based on concise, precise, and easy to understand notes. So if we've done our job, and most good mortgage brokers do a great job with notes, but if there's no notes, chances of you getting approved are very probably 5 to 10%. Bad notes equals declines in a lot of cases. So make sure that that your mortgage broker understands what your situation is. By understanding your situation, we can best present it. And so at some point, when we've done all that right, this is where the big confusion is in this industry. You will get through us a conditional approval. And so at that point, you think you're done. You think everything in life is finished. Well, that's when I used to have hair. Okay. And that's how I lost all of my hair, because that's when the hair pulling out session of my life starts. Because that's when we have to start making sure that all the right documents that are part of that conditional offer exist, are credible, are precise. You know, if you told somebody that you made $100,000 and then you only made $33,000, you know, somewhere down the road, Reno or Sandy are going to pay hell for that.
And I just had this the other day. The client, lovely lady, she says, I make $33,000 a year. I said, oh, I do contract work. Oh, I need to see your notice of assessment. Get the notice of assessments. And 1 year she made 15,000, and the next year she made 20. There's the problem. Your conditional approval now is null and void. It will not go anywhere. But this is the stage where normally, and every mortgage broker handles things differently. Reno and I are two different styles. With me, I will say to you, I want all your paperwork up front. Before I even look at your application, I want all your paperwork up front. And that's because I'm checking that paperwork. And as long as it's the same and there's nothing surprising, then we're usually pretty good at that conditional stage. And there's only 1 or 2 things that the lender's going to ask for because they're missing it. And that's in the commitment. You'll be able to see that, okay, wait, I already sent Sandy this, and I already sent Sandy that, and I already sent this to her. I'm missing this, and this document. It happens because we can't always predict everything that the lender's going to tell us they want, as much as we try to, right, Reno?
So remember, Sandy says she wants all of her documents up front. Well, I'm a little more, what would you call me?
I believe you stage is what Reno believes.
I believe everybody. See, I don't think anybody lies to me on purpose. I think they're misinformed. But what I hate is when I believe you and we are both misinformed. That is critical to any deal. So here's,
I don't believe, it's not that they're trying to lie to me, Reno. I don't believe customer. No, I believe what it is, they don't understand what they're reading and they don't know exactly what we're looking for and we're interpreting, because I get this all the time. I make $2,500 in my bank, but that doesn't mean that's what you make. You may make like 40,000 a year. That's what your net is. That's 2 different things. And that's very similar with a lot of the things that they were talking to us about. So we need to make sure we're on the same page. And that's the only reason I asked for the paperwork up front, is because I want to make sure I'm on the same page as my clients. And Reno just believes that, okay, yeah, they're going to give me all that. No worries.
And quite frankly, she's 100% right. I'm 100% wrong, because it also, if we have all that paperwork up front, it also, not only is it going to be more accurate, but it actually speeds up the process, because these conditional commitments that we receive actually have a list of items that they want to see. And if we've already sent them those items, we already know that those are just going to all be accepted, and we move on with life. And then the next step for that is final approval and what we call broker complete. But the next step is the conditional commitment. That's when we tell you, look, here's a copy of it, have a look at it, and let's read through it. Here's the 10 things that they want you to provide, of which you've already given me 4, and they're accurate. So are you confident that you can give me these next 6? If you say, yep, I'm confident that I can give you those next 6 and I'll give them to you tomorrow, I, at that point, verbally give you the okay to go ahead and talk to your realtor and remove the finance conditions that you have with your offer of sale or purchase and sale. So there's a couple of steps in there, and be careful. So just because you have a conditional commitment doesn't mean that's the final product. And by the way, just to clarify, in every bank, in every situation, in every mortgage, nothing is finalized until your lawyer received the money from that lender and is ready to
So
release
you
it.
have the keys to the house in your hand, because you could be sitting in front of your lawyer and you're saying the wrong things, or you're telling them something new and they have to disclose that to the lender because they're working for both you and the lender. They can just cancel the deal because they have to tell the lender, and the lender can say, oh, wait, they bought a car? Oh, sorry, we're pulling that deal. So once you have all your conditions have been met, that does not mean you can do whatever you please. Just don't do it. Always ask. This is our favorite saying, right? Reno, every week this phrase comes up. Don't do anything until you talk to your broker.
But don't do anything, period. Don't spend any money.
Yeah.
That's it. Until you're sitting in your own couch having coffee in front of the TV on the coffee table.
In the couch?
Don't buying anything.
In the couch? I don't think they're going to sit in the couch. They'll sit on the couch, but not in it.
In the couch, well, you get a nice fluffy couch. You can sit in it. I lay on mine.
No kidding.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the point is, guys, we're trying to buy together. We're all trying to buy this house. Okay. And it's critically important for you to get that house, because obviously you don't go around making offers on houses you don't want. So obviously you want it. So let's do everything that within our power to have it. But you know what? If for some reason those documents fall apart and at the end this thing doesn't go through, you're disappointed, I'm disappointed. And if it stopped there, it would just be the two of us disappointed. We'd get on with life. However, most houses, people are selling you their house, they're buying another house, they need the money from the one they sold you so that they can pay for the other one. And there's somebody else behind them that did exactly the same thing. So some of these chains of events,
huge.
It can be huge. It can be 20, 30 different events simply by you not having the right document.
And sometimes, Reno,
sorry?
Sometimes, Reno, is beyond the customer's control, because we have this new thing this year. It's called the pandemic, that is wreaking havoc on people because they have a job, they apply, we get them fully approved, and then a week before closing, they get laid off because of COVID-19. Guess what? Your financing has just fallen apart. Hey. And there's absolutely nothing any of us can do. It is a possibility. It hasn't happened to us yet, thank God, but there is situations where it could happen.
What do you mean it hasn't happened? It's happened to me.
It has happened to you. It's just how much I pay attention to you.
Remember, the life of a broker, you guys think we sit smoking big cigars behind a big fancy desk and our life is so calm and we make all kinds of money. Well, the money part is right. You know what? Don't have any red tag sales for us. We're okay. However, we are, as if we had 6 arms, we'd be using them all at the same time, because we're always trying to put some fire out. We're always in critical mass. And one of those things about the conditional offer, one of my customers, who later became a friend, in front of, he's bragging. Now the mortgage is all approved. He's sitting in front of his lawyer. He's going to sign that document. And he goes, I feel so good. I started my own business last week. In front of the lawyer. What kind of conversation is that? And so the lawyer actually has to report it to me, has to report it to the lender that this guy's now in business for himself and he doesn't qualify for a mortgage. And it's one of those deals that went south. That weekend, we ruined about 30 people's lives because my guy decided to go into business.
For himself, yes, which means...
Okay, so be careful what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay, so after a certain point, the application is approved to the point where every document they asked for has been looked at, has been accepted, and it is on our screens as, accepted, and we're going to go ahead. They've even sent instructions to your lawyer. So instructions are here. Here's another 8 or 9 conditions that the lawyer has to fulfill. They're usually pretty easy. So if the lawyer fulfills those, then they give them the money 2, 3 days later, 4 days later. However, before the money goes to your lawyer, internally at the lender, there is another set of underwriting that it goes through, and it's called the funder. So believe it or not, so there's a bunch of steps inside of a lender. It's not just one person. There's a bunch of steps, and the final step is the guy's called the funder, or the lady's called the funder. And the funder is the person who actually authorizes the money. So she reads everything, probably spends several hours reading everything and making sure that everything is protecting everybody, not just them, but everybody. And if everything goes good, she authorizes the funding.
Well, because her stage is a little different. So up to this point, it was basically the mortgage broker, the customer, and the lender. We were doing everything. We get every communications all done. We get what we call a broker complete, meaning everything the broker needs to do is done. So this lady, now she's going to mitigate between the actual lawyer, your lender, and her is the one that's going to give out the money. So if all these other conditions, because your lawyer has conditions just as much as a broker does, is not met, they go, whoa, we can't proceed. So always what we say, I tell people, check the broker, check your lawyer's conditions as well. And then as soon as we hear that the lawyer's been instructed, we call the customer and say, or text the customer, say, you might want to call your lawyer to make sure he's got your instructions. Because without that, they can't do their side and your deal may not close. And it happens.
Oh, it happens a lot. And then the other thing that you may also, if you do go through this process enough times, you're going to hear something that just will blow your mind. The top of your head will actually explode off and just say, what had just happened? I'm not going to say an extraordinary amount of times, but there's enough times that it happens a lot. The lender does not recognize or want to use the lawyer that you've chosen for one reason or another. Okay, and we don't know what that reason is, but the lender doesn't trust the lawyer. That's basically what it is.
They don't trust that lawyer. One good way to check yourself is go onto the Law Society and see if they're licensed in real estate. Because if they're not licensed in real estate, they will not allow you to use that lawyer.
That's pretty heavy. It's devastation because you trust your lawyer. All of a sudden, the lender doesn't trust the lawyer, and last minute they're saying, no, you can't use that lawyer. You want to go with this through this deal. You got to have another lawyer. Oh my God. Now where do you find that other lawyer? And it has to be a real estate lawyer. So set the stuff up in advance. Remember, it's like Zen and yoga. Nice and slow.
The importance of your broker complete, because in the broker complete side of it is we are supposed to know who your lawyer is. They can't instruct the lawyer without knowing who your lawyer is. And at that point, the lender's going to say, yes, I like this lawyer, or they're going to say, find a new one. And we have had it happen where they don't like the lawyer.
Okay. And here's the big one. And I'm just as at fault as you are. When I buy something, I want it now. And when I buy something, I need to be the center of attention for that other person that I'm buying it from or that's looking after me. Okay. I need to have it done right now. Well, during this pandemic, we've had a surge in property sales. It's been just
insane.
Unbelievable. Peaked. Peaked. It's the busiest it's ever been. So while we used to, and we still do, we still provide, 2-3 days for approval up to the commitment point. But by time some of these lenders, because we have to go to a special lender because of your special circumstances, could be 3 or 4 weeks before they even look at your application. So when Sandy said about getting it done prior to actually getting the house, let's get you pre-approved. Let's get you in the system. Let's get 90% of the work done and up front, out of the way. Those work documents, those work letters, those letters of everything. Let's go and show it to them. Let's let them have it. Let's give them, the lender, lots of time to read it. So then when you do find a house, all we got to do is inject the house into that paperwork and then it'll get done because it's already in the system. So timing is everything. Don't expect to make a decision to buy a house on Monday, get us to do the thing on Tuesday, get the final okay on Wednesday. It doesn't happen anymore. It just doesn't happen.
And the reality is, I know a lot of these customers that are buying houses without conditions of finance, and that just makes us go crazy, absolutely crazy. And then all of a sudden they want an answer right away. Well, it could cost you, okay? Because if we have to do an alternate solution because we can't get it done in time. We have lenders that are telling us, don't send us deals. We cannot, if it closes within 2 weeks, forget it. We're not doing it. That means you're now going to pay a higher rate because those ones that are that busy have great rates. So it's going to affect you.
And, you know, bottom line to all this stuff too is, while rate is important, very important, we shop the same way as you do. You know, who's got the best rate today? And so we look at, whenever we buy a trip to go on a personal vacation, we're all, buy a car. What's the, you know, who's got the lowest price on whatever, Cadillacs, and you're always looking for the lowest price, but it may not be the model that you like. So, I mean, you get shafted in the end anyway. But so price is very important. Yeah, it is very important. We shop the same way as you do. Our eyes go there first, but it's not the most important thing. Sometimes by knowing which lender will get certain types of properties approved quickly through us is the reason we're going. And after all, you might pay a little bit more in interest, but it might only be $3 a month or something along those lines.
And, you know, we find too, the ones where this is the low bottom barrel rates, these guys are asking for a lot of documents, like a little bit too much. And that gets frustrating too, because normally, like Reno and I, particularly me, I know exactly what their lenders are going to ask for, and I'm going to ask you for it up. So if they turn around, they ask us for more documents than what we're expecting, it is frustrating, but it is what it is. If you're looking for that rate, expect to have to provide more documentation, because they're most likely going to do it, because they're very picky on who they're sending their money to. They want to make sure you're a good candidate. So they're overzealous on their documentation.
Right. And you know what? You shouldn't lose an opportunity in today's hot market by not being prepared. Okay. Shop with us for the best rate, for the easiest mortgage to get out of. You tell us what it is that is your number one need when you're shopping for a mortgage. And that's what we're going to shop. Yeah, we're also going to get the best rate. There's no question about it. Even better than the banks. I have no question about it. We beat banks every day. But much more important is what is inside that mortgage that's going to hamper you paying it out, paying it off, switching, getting rid of it, porting it, doing whatever it is that you need to do with that mortgage in order to make your life easier. And that's what we do as mortgage brokers each and every day of the week. So I just got the note over there. We got to get out of here. We got about 2 minutes left. Sometimes we may like to make them mad and we like to say things, but I got nothing new to introduce. I mean, I just had a wonderful week.
And it's your bedtime.
Most of my deals have been flying through. I like that. I didn't have too many. Even one got declined today about 1 o'clock or so, and I rejigged it a little bit and got some more information from the customer. The information I should have got first, and by 3 o'clock it was approved. So life is absolutely fantastic in the mortgage world. All you got to do is have a conversation with it, and don't feel obligated that you have to do something with us. All you have to do is talk to us and make sure that you've got the right information for yourself, right, Ted?
And yeah, and that's the big thing. Whenever you're talking to your broker of choice, usually it's Reno and I, because we are pretty darn good. But when you're talking to them, make sure you're getting the information. So many people don't know the information. They just hear they're declining and they don't know why or nothing. So Reno and I are going to clarify, because we want to help you get set up for your purchase, even if it means you got to wait 6 months. That's the big thing. And it really is all about that conversation, beginning through the whole process of getting that mortgage.
Hey, remember me, I'm Reno Viola. I am the mortgage guy, AKA the mortgage commando, flying with my boss, my life partner, and superstar in the mortgage industry, the machine, Sandra Brown. We'll see you next week.
Thank you and have a good evening.